Hi everybody, my name is Kahanivachak Swati and today I've got a story for you once again. The name of the story is Gullivers Travels. So let's start the story. Long ago, on the land of England, there lived a person called Gulliver. One day, Gulliver and his friends decide to go sailing south. So they all board a ship and they start sailing to the South Seas. Suddenly, the sea got violent and there was a huge storm which struck the ship. The ship was in tatters and everybody got drowned except for one, Gulliver. Gulliver got saved because he clung on to a wooden log which would float and not let Gulliver drown. And for hours and hours, Gulliver kept on clinging to that log and sailing on the endless sea. Suddenly, Gulliver saw a piece of land and quickly he swam and swam. The moment he was on the land, he was so exhausted that he instantly fell asleep. After a few hours, when Gulliver woke up, he could not move. Someone had tied him with ropes. He had his hands tied, his feet tied, even his hair tied. So he looked around, could not see anything. But then, when he looked down, he saw thumbnail-sized men dressed up as soldiers standing on his chest. Who were they? So Gulliver thought of asking them and he said, "Who all are you?" So the soldiers told him, "You are on the land of Lilliputians and we are the soldiers of the king. So stranger, who are you?" Gulliver told them that his name was Gulliver and he narrated the whole story how he had landed up on Lilliput. The soldiers told him that they have to take him to the king and if he does not cooperate, they might end up killing him. Gulliver felt like laughing. These tiny little things are going to kill me. But then he kept his calm and they put him on a cart with wheels and they started pulling him towards the king's palace. While he was going, he was astonished to see thousands of people standing on the streets looking at this new giant who had come out of the sea. Some of the gentle and kind ones even offered him fruits. Yes, tiny little apples, bananas, which he happily accepted and ate. But Gulliver kept on looking around and he could see tiny little trees, tiny little houses and tiny little people all around him. Finally, when they reached the palace, he appeared in front of the king. And the king asked the same question. "Stranger, who allowed you to come to our land? Who are you?" Gulliver said, "Your Majesty, I will agree to whatever you say. I will hear you out once you open me, please." So the strings were opened and Gulliver was freed, and then Gulliver narrated the whole story to the king. So the king told him, "You will be allowed to stay on our land provided you take care of our land and you become our protector." Gulliver happily accepted. So Gulliver was given a house to stay and a lot of food to eat. Gulliver was happy staying with the Lilliputians. They were nice and gentle people and they took good care of Gulliver. And one day it was Carnival time. It was the king's birthday. So the whole city of Lilliput was decorated and everybody was invited for the big feast. even Gulliver. So when Gulliver reached for the big feast and the celebrations, suddenly something happened in the palace. A fire broke out and everybody was running here and there looking for water when Gulliver suddenly spotted a small fountain in the garden, in the king's garden. He just picked it up and threw water from there on the fire so that it got extinguished. Everybody was so happy and elated, and Gulliver was ever so happy to help these Lilliputians. The king, of course, rewarded him with lots of gifts, and he got a big, huge house to stay. So days passed and Gulliver kept on staying with the Lilliputians, enjoying his days over there, when suddenly an enemy king attacked Lilliput. And so the king again summoned for Gulliver and requested him to save the land of the Lilliputians. So Gulliver moved towards the sea and he saw hundreds of tiny little ships in the sea. Gulliver tied all the ships with strings and just pulled them towards him and rotated it round and round till all the sailors were dropped in the sea. And then suddenly he blew a strong wind from his mouth and all the ships were thrown away. The enemy king was frightened. He was not expecting a giant to be there in Lilliput, and suddenly this huge giant was standing in front of them. He could have eaten them up. So the enemy king requested and pleaded and prayed to the Lilliput king to leave them, to let them go, and declared peace. The Lilliput king let them go, and Gulliver continued to stay in the Lilliputian land and was also declared a national hero for protecting and saving the Lilliputians. So days passed and he kept on staying over there when one morning suddenly Gulliver saw a log of wood floating in the sea. Oh, Gulliver started remembering his family and he so wished he could go back to his family. So Gulliver went to the king and requested him and expressed his desire to go back to the land of England. The king readily accepted and he got a huge ship built for Lilliput and loaded it with lots and lots of goodies and food for Gulliver to eat on his way. The Lilliput king also gifted him lots of horses and cows and sheep, and the ship was full of gifts for Gulliver. And all the Lilliputians bid goodbye to Gulliver. Gulliver reached home after many days of sailing, and his family was so surprised to see him back after so many days. And when Gulliver narrated the story of Lilliput, they were so happy to hear all the stories about them, and they so wished they could go and meet them. Gulliver, of course, missed those Lilliputs sometimes when he was sitting and thinking about them. And then one day he decided that he would definitely go back to meet the Lilliputians. So that's the end of the story. I hope you liked my story. Stay tuned to my channel and I'll bring you lots and lots of new stories which you would enjoy hearing. Till then, goodbye, take care, see you.